What's good, YouTube? And welcome to a wild roller coaster ride of a market watch. The YCS was huge and has slammed the market in some places, while in others, it's cooling off where people might not expect. They're scratching their head saying, what's going on here? Well, I've been around the rodeo a couple of times. I'll tell you past examples versus what's going on now. And also, accessant code talker. The Starlight Rare is selling at up to $650, and people are freaking out, so let's start here. You have sales at $500, it disappears at $5, goes to $650, and I don't think this is our typical market manipulation where pre-sellers sell to each other, taking the fees, and then try to create a stampede. I do think there's FOMO at play here, but it's also disappeared at Gamer's Choice, first selling at $400 and then $500. I can see on my back end from code What'sGood5 for 5% off and support the channel directly, people did actually buy these and they went, and so I'm thinking when it comes to this card that people are over speculating the pull rate versus what's inside the set without having the entire picture, because you are speculatory gambling whenever you're looking at this point right now. So let's discuss that. The set inside doesn't have a lot of value, and Battles of Legend historically has been like that for the past few sets, highly relying on the huge chases. Those huge chases have been at 1 per 1.5 cases, so in 3 cases you would usually see 2, the Astral Rare, the Starlight, those kinds of things, right? So when it comes to this, they're easier to get than core sets in the past, and having bumped up the number of Starlights to 10, Gamer's Choice has Savage Dragon over on their website right now. I do hope that sticks. I've seen some of the pre-sellers get it wrong before, but I really do hope Savage Dragon is one. When we're looking at the estimated value pull chop up, well, access code talker seems to be the most exciting aspect. An anime ace monster, a highly played ace monster at that within the metagame, and I've heard people saying, you don't think this will be $1,000 like instantly? John, what are you saying? And to that conversation I say, well, in Ghosts from the Past 2, they did end up doing more ghost rares, right? But they also upped the amount of ghost rares you would pull. So I would think when we're talking about these Starlight rares, we have to wait to see the ratios. I do not think that it would be similar to the core sets where it's 1 per every other case, because past Battles of Legends hasn't had that be the case, right? Like 1 per 1.5, and now you have even more. But we still have to wait to see. You are speculatory gambling to think otherwise, just as I am, because I'm trying to predict where's Konami going to move, what are they going to do. But a lot of people are putting their money on this will be extremely, extremely hard to get, to which either way, yeah, when we have 10 different Starlights, if it's 1 per 1.5 case, that's 15 cases to open to see all 10, and that's still a lot of cases and more than you would have to do individually to see all 5 Starlights out of a core set. But then you're still physically pulling more Starlights for the estimated value pulled back, but you're also hitting a lot of junk Starlights along the way versus all of this not so much value in the box. This set is so thirsty. It reminds me, yeah, you have the Chaos Emperor Dragon similarly pricing up versus access code talker. Tons of different value back throughout the packs on the way, but this will fall out as we actually see it not just be pre-seller locked and the market heat up week 1. So versus how this is stacking up now, I still think access code talker personally is like a $400 card, but I'm not a financial advisor channel. I don't know the future of how things are going to go, how crazy prices might get, and I can definitely be wrong, but I do think people are overspending at this point, and here's a meme out of the situation at worst of the real accessant code talker. But pointing to the past, Dark Magician had this happen, right? There were rumors of the pull rate, 1 per 6 cases, and I was even saying, I haven't heard that on my end, I think it'll be easier, and it turned out 1 per 1.5 cases, 4 times as easy to get, and then it doesn't match the secret rares out of the Megatons, and I still thought the Megaton versions would push it up. They did for a little bit, and then it's just kind of settled around 90 where it was at, and it's chilling there for a chase card that it doesn't appear that often, 1 per 1.5 cases, but, you know, is the only one appearing there, and you still can chase after Starlights, etc. It's an interesting case for sure with the Dark Magician, but to remember, people have mad overspent. I do think Access Code Talker is a better card because it's currently being played and not just dumped for Dragoon. When it comes down to Star Liege Seifert here and market manipulation, that is definitely happening to a degree. Look at the unlimited market price price 50, readily available around 20. Dragon Link has a lot of hype going for it, but there's some weird sales, all individual sales at $220 for this card. I don't think that really happened and the sale went through and they shipped it out, etc. But I'd like to see TCG Player investigate these kind of things and maybe even make a statement when it's that weird and happens to do this to their graphs. Tier Lament Rulclos, back to reality. The Tier 0 format is here. They've definitely taken over to a great degree. And here you have the Starlight out of Darkwing Blast really just taking off and going crazy. And the lowest are now towards $365 to $70. So be aware that this has spiked. Maybe you had one or had plans to get one, but being out of the new set and going up for a Starlight, usually it takes a while to do this, and this one is just going along with the metagame. Versus the actual card you need to be playing for the deck, most likely, you have the Planet card actually just coming down, and it's at its lowest point ever. So this is a mix of people being willing not to play during the season, banlist fears towards a deck, warping it to where there will be other options, because people are saying, well, there could be an emergency ban list, but on top of that, a real ban list, you know, around Christmas. I'm good not playing till the national season. I have my invite, those sort of things. But I point back to the Six Samurai Keyzon, not my Six Samurai. I'm not bragging about my 2008 when we go, you know, ahead a couple of years. Keyzon super rares started out ridiculous at the YCS, I think like $50, $60, and they were quickly 40s, then down to 30s, then down to 25s, even while they were full takeover on the meta. And the reason the legendary Six Samurais did this is most people who wanted theirs got theirs, and they continue to be pulled throughout the season, and then people would become disinterested, you know, in playing that specific deck, and those kind of things happen where people genuinely, as many people who want to be playing this deck as at tournaments, they end up getting that deck, and the price ends up coming down. So even though it's tier 0, top of the meta, you gotta have it to play and win, well, first off, you don't. You could be playing Thunder and still make the finals, and second, also, when we're looking at this, yeah, not that many people necessarily want to be stuck on the deck, and that's why it's towards one of its lowest prices. Raid Raptor Arsenal Falcon has spiked really highly, and it's generic 7 stuff. Where have I heard that before? Ah, right, Fenrir and Unicorn and all those good boys, except this card actually summons the Wind Barrier statue for the deck, for that deck. As if this card doesn't come up enough, right? Now it's being summoned again, and it actually has a pretty high price and is disappearing on quantity, so you might want to get yours sooner than later if you plan to not be playing tier and go rank 7 good stuff. But this Raid Raptor being able to do that, it's kind of funny, and it only has its one super rare printing out of Rise of the Duelist without a Mega Pack reprint. Hoppier Squadron's a level 2 that mixes in with Sprite. I don't know if this did something at the YCS. My Discord didn't get back to me on that, so let me know in the comment sections if it was an actual result from the YCS. I haven't had time to go through all the lists, but this one is way up in price and down in quantities. I played this once in generators for funny stuff on stream. Sky Striker Ace Rose. You have the hunt for cards that were not in Mavens, and the deck's got updates, and we're gonna go buy out these cards. People are doing that. They don't want to touch a gold rare still, but when we're looking at the ultra rare out of the original Ignition Assault, it is up towards $4. The Mega Pack version has spiked up too, but it's only $2 to $250, so it's shinier. And then you have the Starlight rare, which has been free falling for a long time now, finally catching itself and starting to bump back up. So be aware, Rose is on buyout mode, just as Witchcrafter Holiday is, because it missed a reprint, but all the Witchcrafter stuff is there. And then Yoko, the Graceful Mayakashi, it also got that treatment, along with Suchi Gumo, the Poisonous Mayakashi. I'm probably murdering these names by now, but yeah, it also spiked on up just like that and went down in quantities because no reprint, equal prices go burr. Not all of these will have good sales rates or necessarily stay up in price versus the buyouts. That's what happens. People go after these cards thinking, oh, I've got a gold mine just because it didn't get reprinted. People are going to need this for the deck because they have the rest of the deck, but not everybody is after Mayakashi or Witchcraft, or while they have a popularization to them to some degree, that's not the sole reason people are going in on Mavens. In fact, the first reason was the Shizu stuff, right? Over here in Darkwing Blast again, another super rare is going a bit crazy. The okay, Yugi Tuber murdering names. Nothing new. Vernusilf? Vernisylph sounds better, of the Misting Seedlings is spiking up in price here and is now going for around $2 to $2.50. It's not the first Vernisylph that has been doing that, so be aware. We talked about the Ultra hitting 6, but yeah, there's another one starting to go as people seem to really like this little engine. Sword Soul Emergence, we talked about this being shorted in the US version of the Mama. I don't know that it is in the EU version, actually. I haven't checked on those short prints, but I do know this was shorted over here in the US, and it is starting to disappear completely on quantities, so you might want to go ahead and get a first ed original if you're going for this for the Sword Soul decks. And then finally, I just wanted to point out Toon Kingdom here because somebody was telling me, oh, the ultimate rare seems mad cheap. Copium. People are really copium on this one, and I kind of am too, because when we look at the history of this, it's an easy call to go up one day, right? And this is how the Yu-Gi-Oh market can act completely different than whatever your five-head brain tells you. The secret rares at one point were hyped to the point of like $70. The rares were $20+. It was crazy. And after reprint, you still have the cheapest version being $5-something, like when the rare debuted, which was a $5 to $7 rare on debut, and you look at the ultis and it's done nothing but come down and get buyout and come down, and now it has a competitor version in the Pharaoh rare over here, and the secret rare has bottomed out too. So despite, like, you know, all those kinds of things, like, it was only Pharaoh rare in Mavens, it didn't get a generalistic reprint here. People are still kind of like going crazy on the lower end slowly on this, yet the high end continues to bottom out and get different high-end versions versus it. I do think that when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh market, it can be a bit predictable, but at other times you can think you know it all, and instead it just goes the opposite direction. So do know that, versus speculation on the secondary market versus what even Konami will do can be very different to wrap around full circle here. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy these conversations. I like getting more in depth like this. It's fun to look around at. Sometimes I got a bad take, sometimes I have very good takes, and sometimes I have good takes for the wrong reasons. That'll happen a lot too. And you gotta, you know, be a little more humble when it comes to, I told you so! Like, come on, it's pretty easy to quote-unquote tell you so, but it's a lot harder to say, yeah, here's where I was wrong, and here's why I thought that way at times. But with Access Code Talker, I think this is a bit high. We'll have to wait and see versus the other people telling me this is an easy $1,000 card.